Crises come in many forms. They can be political, economic, environmental, or related to public health. And they all impact migration trajectories and our movements. Here, at the NCCR on the Move, we have developed an important framework to understand the complex relationship between migration and mobility that we call the migration-mobility nexus. Our framework identifies 4 key relationships that connect migration and mobility. First, migration as a continuity of mobility patterns and vice versa. Second, migration as an enablement of mobility and vice versa. Third, opposition between migration and mobility. And fourth, hierarchical valuation of migration and mobility. To capture the impact of different crises on this migration-mobility nexus, we have developed a scientific approach that considers crises as specific events that are structurally anchored in our societies. It is reflexive and conciliates constructivist and objectivist perspectives by distinguishing 3 levels of analysis.
At the individual level, we focus on how crises impact the mobility pattern of people. As an example, one could study how migration caused by crises may eventually lead to the immobilization of forced migrants, but also how forced migrants activate agency to become or remain mobile.
Zooming out, we study how larger social groups or stakeholders perceive mobility and migration during a crisis. We could take the example of the COVID-19 pandemic, which has altered mobility-related attitudes, making the closing of borders widely accepted.
And at the governance level, we focus on how crises are managed by different actors. Continuing with examples from the COVID-19 pandemic, existing hierarchies in the governance of migration mobility became partly inverted. Highly mobile groups, such as business elites, were forced to stay put, while the movement of so-called essential workers was facilitated. A crisis can also bring about new forms of digitalization as a way to govern populations and their movement.
In a nutshell, our approach combines 3 levels of analysis of the impact of crises on the nexus between migration, mobility, and immobility, which are agency, experience, and practices, attitudes and perceptions, and finally, governance. Discover our brand new working paper for more insights into the dynamic interplay between crises and the migration-mobility nexus.